Hi, and welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. I'm Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder.
And before I forget, let's do the review of the week. Should we do that?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do that before we start talking about what we're going to talk about.
Totally.
Yeah. So, we got this such a sweet review. And a lot of times I like to even kind of go and look back at some of the older reviews, but this one was really great. We just got it within the last few weeks, and it says, it's from Squin512. It says, I rarely leave reviews, but the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast is amazing. I've listened to so many episodes, but the breastfeeding and sex drive really resonated for me. Literally, it was like they were inside my head. I'm pretty sure I may have postpartum anxiety, and sometimes just listening to you guys makes me feel okay or helps validate a decision that I've made. My hubby and I sleep in separate rooms for almost the last year, since we are bed sharing with our daughter. He's an iron worker and needs a good night's rest to stay safe at work. I thought that we were the only ones doing this, and I felt guilty and weird for it. Thank you both for all you do in supporting breastfeeding mothers like myself and so many others. Aww.
That is so amazing. That's so amazing. When people say that feelings are validated or experiences are validated or they got some information that helped them, I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's it. That's the bottom line. That's the whole thing. That's why this thing is here.
Yeah. I mean, it really made me feel so good to read that, to know, like, yeah. I mean, part of me felt kind of sad because I was like, oh my gosh, she, for like however old her daughter is, for the last year anyway, thought that she was like some freak or just like doing something weird, and probably just felt so uncomfortable with how she was living her life.
But don't we all?
Right.
Don't
but
we all?
Shouldn't.
We all have felt that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, no, this is normal. We're all here doing it. So
yeah,
I'm so glad that she left that post, because that made me really realize, like, make me think for a minute, like, oh my gosh, what are people really going through right now, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And what do we need to talk about? What do we need to get out there?
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you, Squin12.
Thank you.
Or was that 12?
Squin512, close.
I remember the first part.
Yeah. You know who you are. Thank you. But we are going to talk today about breastfeeding, well, during the holidays, right? But not even just during the holidays. Like, anytime you're at a function, like, one of the times that really stood out to me was when my son was baptized, because we had this huge party afterwards, and I remember, like, just being like, okay, I gotta go breastfeed, you know, like, it's just any kind of place, gathering, you're with family, you've got a lot of people around you, you're in a different situation than your norm.
Right, and I mean, it's coming out, we're hurrying to get this out right the week before Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving and Christmas, these are the big ones that we always talk about, but we are well aware that there are so many other holidays, you know, that go on, like religious or cultural or whatever, that go on for everyone. And so, yeah, if we're talking about that, we're talking about any time of the year that you're with family. I mean, I have a family reunion that I go to every summer. That's with on my father's side of a huge, giant family. And that's like, you know, that's the big thing that I do, that, you know, when I breastfeed in front of family, where I know, like, they're not that supportive. So whenever this is whether it's because, you know, you also celebrate some, you know, family gatherings are sometimes celebratory, but we also get together when there's a funeral or, you know, other kinds of things that are going on where you're still going to have to deal with breastfeeding and lots of other people, and things are out of our routine. Even this past year, my father-in-law passed away, and we went down to the memorial. And so did lots and lots of family from all over the country. It was chaos. And my kids were just hitting the ceiling. And I was too. It was just chaos. So, you know, let's talk about it.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of families have their own kind of rituals, you know, like... So some people do a whole, you know, special New Year's Day brunch, or, you know, like whatever, whatever might be your, you know, thing in your family. Birthdays, like, gosh, a lot of people do like a huge thing for their child's first birthday. And, you know, that could be a situation too where you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to like navigate this whole breastfeeding thing during that period of time?
Right. So there's a few topics that I kind of jotted down of things I wanted to make sure that we talked about in this episode, because I think there's a few major things. And the first one, I think that we can just talk about briefly because we have another episode on this, but alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of times when we get together, we have these get-togethers, the alcohol starts flowing. And people start to worry, can I do this? Can I have a glass of wine when I'm, at the family party or the holiday Christmas or the workplace holiday party or whatever you are. And we have a whole episode on that. And so you should be directed to the alcohol and breastfeeding episode, because it's our single most popular episode, and it's a great episode where you get a lot of all the information, the science that you need to understand why, yes, you can.
Because I can almost guarantee you that if you are at a family gathering or anywhere where people know that you're a breastfeeding mom, they will say to you, "You're going to have a drink?"
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that's
totally
okay.
Yeah.
So know your info behind it before you just say, "Shut up! I'm doing what I want to do."
So, yeah. Or you can just say, "Shut up, I'm doing what I want to do." Because, you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. When you make the decision for yourself, you have the information, okay, here's the science, I'm comfortable making this decision. You don't owe anybody an explanation. Mm-mm. If you would like to explain it to somebody and you think that you can actually educate somebody, cool. If, Uncle Joe is just a jerk, but any other day of your life you wouldn't spend any time with him, but there he is, because it's, because here we are, we're at the family gathering, there's Uncle Joe, oh God.
Yeah.
Handle that however you feel like handling it. But the bottom line is, it's okay to have alcohol while you're breastfeeding. What the problem is not the alcohol in your breast milk. The problem is getting so drunk that you can't take care of your baby.
Yes.
And I'm not even telling you not to get drunk. I'm telling you that you need to have, somebody around who's like taking care of the baby. Have a conversation with your partner or, your another family member. Okay, who's going to stay, kind of with the baby? Who's going to, who's in charge here? Who's the designated caregiver here?
Right.
And the other thing is, do not share a bed with your baby after you've had alcohol.
Right.
And that's what you need to know. And then we can direct you to the other episode for the rest, unless you want to add anything, Dan.
No, that's really the bottom line with it, is just, the alcohol, having the alcohol is fine. It's more of the safety issue around it. Yeah. And nobody ever talks about that. They're like, "Oh my God, your breast milk's going to have alcohol in it." Like, that's, this horrible crisis. And it's not true. So
it's not at all.
It's ridiculous. But what is true is that people don't make the best decisions when they're under the influence of anything. So we want you to not give up your life and be able to go out and have drinks if you want to, if you're at a family holiday party, which is one of the times that I get the most questions about alcohol is during the holidays.
Absolutely.
So it's perfectly okay. Go on with your life. Keep going. But just, know that have somebody there to make sure that they're watching over the baby for you.
Yeah, for lots of reasons.
Yeah, you'll be more comfortable.
Yeah, because there's alcohol. Yeah, you'll be more comfortable. And there's also alcohol sitting around on the tables.
So if you want to know more about alcohol, we're just going to direct you to that episode because it's an entire episode on it, like a whole thing.
And it's a good one.
So, it's a good one. So go listen to that if you haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think that we need to talk about is family that's being critical of us. Mm-hmm. Family that's like, really, do you need to do that here? There's a bedroom over there. Can you go into the bedroom or at least cover up? Or, who are kind of making you feel like you're doing something wrong when you're breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you say about that? How would you handle that?
Oh, gosh. Again.
I know how I would handle it.
Yeah. And I think, and of course, it depends on who you are. But I used to go to another part of the house. And that was only because I'm a little bit of an introvert and I wanted to get away for a few minutes. So that was kind of my thing. It wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, I have to go breastfeed, I better go hide somewhere." It was more like, finally, I get to get away from all these people in this chaos for a few minutes and go and nurse the baby. So that's, that was my thing. But I think a lot of it would depend on who it was. Like, if it's Uncle Joe, again, who you see once a year and who you really could care less what he thinks, then be like, whatever. You can have your opinion. I don't care what you have to say. And anybody closer to you should know better, really.
Right.
I mean, that's
we've really got people listening. I mean, we have people listening who are criticized daily by their very partners. They live with their biggest critic. this is a reality for a lot of people. There, we got, there's breastfeeding barriers up the wazoo.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
But we've got people who are dealing with things that I personally can't even imagine. People that are whose partner every day is like, when are you going to stop?
Yeah.
That's not necessary. Why are you doing that out here? And I don't know, maybe that's a whole other episode. But there are people who don't know better, who don't care about your feelings, who maybe even think that they're doing something helpful, by trying to get you to just like do the right thing, or But
so I mean, if it happens, like if you're sitting there and the baby wants to nurse and you pop the baby on and somebody is like, do you really need to do that here? I mean, it could be something as simple as, sorry if you're offended by this, but the baby's hungry.
Yeah. The other thing, yeah, exactly. You just,
it's
I'm
their problem
right here, no problem. It is. And you can even, maybe somebody in the family who, maybe you're connected with somebody on Facebook who's kind of liking your breastfeeding photos, or who's, whatever. You can maybe call them up ahead of time and be like, hey, cousin Julie, I'm a little bit nervous about breastfeeding at this like big, family gathering. Like, would you sit by me, or would you, and you maybe get somebody who's like going to be on your side ahead of time to kind of maybe be a buffer, field some of those comments for you. Cause you don't need to be at this, you don't need to be all stressed out and trying to have fun at the same time. Those two don't go together.
That's a great idea though. Or, maybe there's somebody in the family that, breastfed their children. So it's, that's a great idea to kind of like find a
sometimes grandma, sometimes go straight to like the matriarch, just be like, I know you breastfed everybody back in the 50s, whatever. Although sometimes they're, everybody's a potential critic, but in your family, maybe there's somebody there who you can get on your side.
Right.
But I liked what you said before about like being able, when you're going into the other room, to kind of feel like you're getting away from the chaos, because I think that's a little bit, the breastfeeding how you're comfortable and where you want, and not being pushed around. There's also this kind of other side to it where it might be a chaotic room. It might be lots going on. Your baby might be distracted and might be too overwhelmed or overstimulated to actually breastfeed. And so then you can go to the other room. Yeah. This needs to be your choice. We're just saying, don't let somebody make you go to the other room.
Exactly, yeah.
If you need to go.
Nobody made me. It was my thing.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that if you're sitting in the room and you're trying to be there and you're trying to nurse and things aren't working, then say, is there somewhere I can go? Can I go into the other room? Can I go into your bedroom, or can I go into your office? Is there somewhere quiet I could go just to nurse the baby? Because the baby's like, because the other thing, there's a new baby in the family. Maybe like, let me hold the baby. And the baby's going to be like, it's fine. It's fine. If you're okay with family doing that, that's fine. But your baby's going to be like maybe overstimulated with all the activity.
Yeah, definitely overstimulated.
And so taking a break, that's cool. That's a good, way to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your other thing? Did you say you had 3?
Well, what did you say?
Did you say you had 3 things? 3?
No, I had, let's see. Well, I don't know the number, but we're making through, we're getting through a lot of them. One of the things that, the other thing that I was thinking about is, I always see these memes go around Facebook, and I always wonder, like, here come the holidays. Make sure you don't have any peppermint because it'll dry up your milk.
Oh, for
Do you see those?
No. Well, I've
never seen that.
Yes, I've seen it. I thought you meant did I ever see that happen?
Okay,
like
no. Have you seen those memes? Okay,
yeah.
So what? So really, like, because I'm always like, are you serious? I don't even know if that's true. Like, I can't. If it was that, it's not that magical. Like,
I think you would have to have a lot. Like, I don't think one candy cane's going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would, if it's going to do it, I think if it's going to happen, like, you better be sucking down a peppermint factory, because, like, that is a lot of freaking peppermint. If you eat a little peppermint and you go, oh my God, my breast milk's gone, like, you'd be,
it doesn't happen.
It does not happen like that. It does not happen like that.
Feel free to have your peppermint schnapps or your candy cane, or
it's fine.
Stir your peppermint schnapps with a candy cane.
That's an even better idea.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, are there foods to avoid during the? At all?
I have never seen it happen where people are like, oh my gosh, I ate that. Because, it's just, I don't really think it has too much to do with
because it doesn't really work the other way either.
Right. So,
like have this food and then get lots of milk.
Right. It doesn't work like that.
Breast milk doesn't work that way.
Sage, I've heard that sage can do it, and then around Thanksgiving with the stuffing and, but again, I would think it would have to be quite a bit. And nobody's eating that much sage.
Right.
What I have heard happen is if you're eating way more sugar, Christmas cookies and candy and all that stuff, and you are prone to yeast, that could cause thrush.
Oh.
So that might be something you want to kind of keep in the back of your head if you're somebody who is prone to getting yeast infections. That, the sugar, if you're doing higher amounts of sugar. I don't know what your family was like growing up, but mine was like ridiculous amounts of sweets. Ridiculous. Totally. So if that's the case. But other than that, like you're definitely off your regular routine of eating. Like you're just off of it. You're on eating whenever you're going to parties, you're at these family things where you're just picking at this, picking at that, eating some cookies, eating some cake, eating some, drinking stuff. And then you're kind of like, oh, let me eat a little bit of this over here, blah, blah, blah. Anything you eat, and we've talked about, I think we have an episode on food, like food with breastfeeding. It doesn't like cause problems with your breast milk. Like if you choose to eat something that's a little bit hot, spicy hot, your baby is not gonna like have this upset stomach or anything like that. It's
right.
totally fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Don't even worry about it. On the other side of it, maybe you're a picky eater and you go to a party and you don't eat anything. Don't worry that that's going to impact your milk supply either, because it will not. Your body's still going to make that milk. It won't matter if you didn't eat or not. That's totally okay. Just eat when you can.
I haven't been able to bring this up in an episode lately. I used to bring it up in every single episode. So you have to remember the women in concentration camps.
Yes!
Who are totally and completely malnourished. And they were making full milk supplies for their babies.
It can happen.
It happens.
It does happen.
Because that's what your body does.
Yeah.
Your body knows how to care for your young.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. Yeah.
So the other thing that I think we need to talk about too is that you will be out of your regular routine. So expect that your baby will be fussy. Expect that your baby's not going to sleep well, or maybe, because maybe you are going to be at this party and they're going to be sleeping at the party because everybody's holding them and passing them around. Mm-hmm. Now you get home, they're overstimulated, they're not sleeping, they're out of a routine. Maybe because they were sleeping, you didn't breastfeed like you normally would. So now they're off their breastfeeding routine because they went 5 hours during this party or whatever.
Yeah.
Try to stay on the same type of routine that you normally would, if you can. And if you can't, just expect that your baby's going to be thrown off too. But when your baby's thrown off, it's harder. It's just worse.
This is a good time too to explore maybe a hand pump or learning how to hand express.
Yeah. Because
if your baby does go, all those hours without eating because they're overstimulated, you might get a little engorged.
Yeah.
And uncomfortable. So hand pumps are really awesome for that. You don't, you're at a party for a few hours or for the night or whatever. You don't want to bring unless you're exclusively pumping or you're away from your baby, then you're going to need your electric pump. But if you just need it like once or something, then that, or hand express. And
just to get some of that milk out. Because, if the baby's sleeping, somebody's bound to say, oh, the baby's fine. You don't need to feed the baby. He's fine. He's sleeping.
Yeah, right.
So, it's just kind of a menace.
Or if people are like, oh, can't you pump it into a bottle so I can feed the baby? No. Unless you do that and you want to do that, fine. Otherwise, do not let anybody force you into doing that.
Yeah.
There's millions of ways, we should do an episode on this, to bond with a baby without bottle feeding.
I can't tell you how much I hate that. Oh,
I know.
God.
We have to get it on our list.
We do. Yeah, we do. So stay tuned for that episode, people, because that'll come up. But I do hate that. So... yes, people will, have their own ideas, have their own opinions, but holiday time, maybe not so much if it's like family reunion type thing in the summer, but holiday time, we are smack dab in the middle of flu and cold season.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you're going to have other kids there with snotty noses and all sorts of stuff going on. Do not feel bad about saying you need to wash your hands. Or,
right. Or
enough people have held the baby today. I kind of, you know, I really don't want to, I'd rather keep the baby with me right now or whatever. It's totally okay to do that.
Or, you know, get a carrier.
Yes.
You put that baby in a carrier and just be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to hold him right now because I'm trying to get him to sleep, you know, even if you're not. Yeah. Just, you know, I got to hold him right now. It's a great baby carriers are a great way to get people's hands off of your baby.
Yeah, absolutely. We had one of my support groups this week. The moms were talking about how one of the moms actually was saying how I think it was her sister-in-law was like making fun of her of being one of those moms that wanted her always to wash her hands and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And would like post things on Facebook shaming her about it. And it's like, this is your baby. If you don't want anybody to touch your baby, that is your prerogative. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. You don't know where they've been. You know, I mean, especially are there people there that are smokers? You know, like things like that.
Oh yeah.
So you can definitely hold on to your baby if you need to. Perfectly okay.
Yeah. We, I go to, like I was saying, I go to my family reunion every year, and, it's outside, so it's a little less, you know, it's a little easier to spread out, but, I breastfed my toddlers, and this is a family of people who don't breastfeed toddlers. And, you know, I will say, I know for a fact that almost everybody at that reunion, you know, every year, think that it's totally weird, and they think that I'm totally crazy for doing it, and they've never once said anything. You know, so I mean, I do give them credit for minding their own business. Right. You know, you gotta give somebody credit for just kind of, you know, not saying anything. That's what you're supposed to do. Right. You're not, unless somebody's asking you for, you know, for your opinion or for, you know, something, then, you know, mind your own business. And they do, and that's cool. And I think it was my father-in-law's 90th a couple years ago, and I was tandem nursing at the time. And I sat on the couch, which I was kind of like, I don't know how this is going to go over. It was like, you know, the big family, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm like, I'm just doing this right here because they're both, you know, overwhelmed. And so it was my father-in-law's, okay, it's confusing. My father-in-law's sister-in-law. Okay. So his brother, his kind of his age woman, very elderly woman, Jewish woman. She's just so sweet. And I was standing nursing them, and I don't know, Jack was like 5 maybe, and Exley was, do the math, 2. And she turned around and looked at me, and she said, "Now that I have never seen." And she was just like this big smile on her face, and she like just thought it was so cool. So, you know, you could go in expecting that you might be criticized, and people might be like, you know what, that's really awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does happen. And
sometimes, yeah, when you least expect it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I remember we talked about on another episode about nursing in public, and those we did like a year ago. So if you haven't seen those,
of the first ones.
Yeah, if you haven't seen those, definitely go back to that because you'll get some great tips out of this too. You might not really think that this is like, okay, this is necessarily nursing in public, but you're nursing in front of other people. So
it is. This is totally nursing in public. Absolutely.
So one of the things that I remember you said that I think makes so much sense is that if you are looking to make eye contact with somebody, you're going to find somebody watching you. Yeah, but if you're not paying attention and you're just looking at your baby or maybe having a conversation with somebody or whatever, then you're not going to even make eye contact with that creeper Uncle Joe across the room who is, poor Uncle Joe. We're totally
giving you side
terrorizing him. Right. But, you're not going to notice that, or, old Aunt Sally who's like, what is she doing in here?
Yeah, you're not going to notice the side looks, or even maybe somebody's not even, if you're looking around and you're looking for something, you're going to find something.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Don't try to
even if it's not there, if you're trying to find it, you're going to find something to support, your worries.
Yeah. So it's, don't look around, be as casual as you can, be comfortable if you can. It's so easy for us to say, oh yeah, go to your thing and be casual and comfortable, nurse your baby, because it might be uncomfortable. But just know that, you're in your right to do whatever you want to do, and it's your baby. It needs to be taken care of.
You are, and if you're in somebody else's house and they, you get down to this level of like, well, in my house, you have to breastfeed in the bedroom. No, that's not how it works. We do not have to do things that the owner of a house tells us to do. Think about it. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do. You're not suddenly like, owned by the person who owns the house that you're in.
Right.
Or you're in my house, so you have to kiss me. Think about it. No, go down that road. Think about how, if you're in someone's house and they start asking you to do things. No, I don't have to do anything that you tell me to do.
Right. No.
So yeah, you are well within your human right to feed your baby wherever.
Yeah. And it always comes down to two. Do they want you to feed the baby, or do they want you to let the baby scream in the middle of the party?
Right.
Like, that's another thing, too. You can just say, well, okay, then who wants to hold the screaming baby? Because now he's going to scream his head off.
Right.
But it's, holidays can be really overwhelming. And I know, like, not even just, okay, I got to go to this get together, but then you're like, okay, I got to spend all day with, this family, and then I got to spend the second half of that day with the other side of the family, and then the baby's up and going from house to house, and it's
or
just
maybe you're on
crazy.
an airplane, or you're driving on a road trip, and you got to go out of town to that's a lot of people travel around the holidays, and it's exhausting.
It's exhausting, and your baby is definitely going to feel the effects of this.
Yeah.
So that's going to be hard. They're going to be off their sleep routine. They're going to be off their feeding routine, and
there's nothing wrong with them. It's just how it goes.
It's just how it goes, and you might be grateful that we are saying you can have alcohol, because you really might feel like you just like, oh my God, I've just had enough. And on the other side of it, try to think of it as, okay, I don't necessarily like visiting my in-laws because I'm not as comfortable over there, but I do know that they love the baby, and I'll be able to kind of be an adult and do what I want to do. Like, that might be, if that's something that you want to do, and you feel like, okay, I want to be able to know that I can maybe leave the baby with my in-laws so my husband and I can go have a dinner together since we're here for the weekend, or whatever, try to find some good in it, because sometimes it can be like very overwhelming, and you can feel like, oh my God, this is like the last thing I want to do is spend a whole weekend at somebody's house for the holidays. But
yeah, absolutely. That's how it is. We're getting ready to go to my in-laws next week, and it's a 2-day drive, and it's a lot of chaos, but there are going to be times where I'm just not needed as much. Grandma's going to be playing with them. It's my husband's side of the family, so there's more of kind of my husband's more involved, and I just take as many opportunities as I can to just sit on the couch, or run to Starbucks, or whatever, just to kind of let some other people take over for a while.
Yeah. It's totally okay. And it'll all be good. And then you have to put it all back together when you get home. But
right.
Baby
stuff. Yeah, and that's the thing. When you get back home, it'll take it might take a couple of days to get back into your routine, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. That's totally fine.
So happy holidays. We hope you enjoy whatever time of year this is for you, or whatever holidays you celebrate. We hope it goes really well.
Yes. Have fun, enjoy, and keep listening. Thank you.
Yeah. And we would love to hear from you. You can share your experiences over on iTunes. And you can also head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, where you can find all of our sponsors and promo codes and all of our other episodes. And you can also now find us on YouTube.
Woo!
At Badass Breastfeeding Podcast, where we post every week. We post our mini podcasts.
Yes.
You can see the videos there, and we are trying to find a way to put the videos of the longer podcasts on there, and just give me a minute to figure that out.
Yeah. So you guys remember that we sometimes are not the best with technology, but we're doing it.
Yeah, and we're also very busy, so.
Yeah, that is true.
Things just take longer. But, we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.